Another really strong second half defensively, except for the one busted play that Paul has. Is that a situation just a bad angle, or what was Kevin's explanation for what went wrong on that play?
Talk about the bad play?
Yes. I gave you the compliment first.
You know, Fenn kind of got beat up line of scrimmage, but he was making up ground, so he was going to play the hands. You know, really when the ball got caught, I was just hoping Kevin either didn't get a penalty or he made a play on the ball. Just, he was on a bang bang, you know, and somehow, some way, he just misjudged the play and he actually clipped off Fentrell, and next thing you know, he's untouched in the end zone. So really poor play by us, got to be better.
Chris?
Speaking of the second half and the good stuff, what did you guys do that kind of helped change up everything, and especially the D-line? Seemed like first half Miami had some success on the right side. What did you adjust there to deal with that accordingly?
Yeah, there were a few runs in the first half that just, you know, whether we pressured or whether we played technique, like we either got up the field too far on the edge or got covered up inside. You know, it wasn't a schematic thing when a few balls hit. You know, it was just really tightening up from the outside in, and whether it was through pressure, whether it was through technique. And you know, I thought in the second half, you know, I knew we were going to try to recover that onside kick, and you know, I felt really good about us getting it. And all of a sudden, when we didn't, it was just an opportunity for that sudden change. I think that really energized the guys, you know, to hold them to that field goal there. And you know, so I just think that was the start of it. And you know, every time we've needed them this year, they've stepped up. So, you know, I appreciate the work they put in for all 60 minutes, but in that second half, we needed them, and they did a great job.
Kurt?
With senior day this week, I know a lot of people, I feel like, talk about the transfers on your defense, but there are a few guys who've been through it and really committed early on. I guess guys like Kalen and Akeem, what have they meant, and what's Saturday mean for them to get to honor them like that?
You know, I just think the strength of the story is just, you know, the different ways that we brought people in, you know, and there's guys we've recruited that are now in their fourth year. There are guys that have been here, and you know, especially on defense, it's just there's a great group of guys. You know, you mentioned Kalen. You know, we can go through them all on name, but you know, there's not a lot of them that were super successful 4 years ago, and so to see that kind of come full circle and to see the impact they have, not only on our defense, but our team, you know, it makes it pretty clear to everybody, you know, how far this program's come, to see how far these individuals have come within the team. And, you know, it just, you know, it'll be an emotional day Saturday. Every Saturday is, but just knowing it's their last time playing here in the stadium.
Go to Corey.
So how did it change your philosophy in the final couple of minutes when their quarterback gets hurt, and then, you know, Van Dyke, who we talked about last week because we thought he was going to play, you know, he can sling it, and then he hits a couple of passes. Like, what are you thinking? What does it change anything about the way you were going to defend them when 9 comes on the field after 17 got hurt?
Yeah, you know, as the game was going, the formations, the run schemes, the protections were all the same. But their route concepts were very different with the Williams kid playing quarterback. You know, the game he started against Clemson, you know, they ran the ball for over 220 yards, and they didn't really ask him to do much, you know, and they could run the ball, you know. And so when we forced him to throw some, all the routes were just different. And so when Van Dyke came in and he threw that one sail route that Greedy almost picked off, it told me right away, okay, it's going back to the original plan of, you know, with Van Dyke. So, you know, just those things, you know, I don't make much of who's playing quarterback because sometimes it doesn't really matter. You got to find when it matters and how it matters, you know, because that's different for each team, it's different for each quarterback. And so, you know, just, yeah, it changed gears a little bit, but I don't force the players to change the gear. That's my job. And, you know, it obviously was just basically close to the just final drive, so there wasn't a lot of time to bring them over and say, this is what's happening. They just got to know how we're going to call the game, and this is what this call takes away. So it's my job to know that, give them the information, then they go and execute.
when I asked Coach Norvell about Kalen's success as a blitzer, he gave credit to you for the scheme stuff. He gave credit to the guys up front for drawing the assignments that they draw. But it seems like he's got a unique ability to come at a really high level of speed and also finish the play. Is that something he's developed and worked on, or is it instinctual?
Well, he's always had burst to the ball, you know, and I think as he's developed physically and as he's developed as a football learner, you know, I think he takes those blitz timers, you know, because every offense has certain triggers that you can use to time things up. I think he listens to that. I think he understands how we blitz and the protections. I think it also brings credit to our guys up front, you know, that there's a lot of attention paid to those 4 players. And so when you bring a guy off the line of scrimmage, some of it's just really good timing, and, you know, just, you know, I know when we send him, he's going to go in the right amount of speed. And, you know, he probably should have had another one back there too. And, you know, it was about the 3rd time we brought it on the same pressure. I think finally the quarterback says, okay, I've seen this before, I got to go protect myself. And he gave him a little bit of anticipation, and the ball got away, and Malcolm was there, and that's when we got the holding call on AZ on the 3rd down that, you know, should have been a stop. But, you know, I can't say enough about where he's come, how he's come, and I actually told the defense on Saturday, you know, one of the unique things is there's no secret. We've gotten better because we've gotten better out there. Over the last 4 years, I mean, I can go and show a time lapse of a Tuesday practice to a Wednesday practice, and just the consistency, the effort. But you walk out there on Tuesday, and Kalen will be the first one sprinting out to each segment of practice. And, you know, that's something that he bought into early, and it's reaping the benefits.
That's one.
You mentioned practices, whether it's Coach Storms in the offseason or you guys during the season, you really wear these kids down in practice in these sort of situations. But just the fact of what you guys have been doing in the second half of games, the last 5-6 weeks, like this growing kind of confidence. Have you ever been at this point as a coordinator, being this assured in who you guys are at that point of a crucial football game?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, been coaching really good defense for a long time, and these guys are now developing the confidence, but the confidence is through the work, because there is no secret to how this gets done. I think that's where it's showing up. You know, there's no second guessing about this is the plan, okay, now we got to adjust the plan, or, you know, continue on the plan, or now this guy's going in, and just the belief. You know, the recruitment's been important to develop or bring in enough players that you feel like you can push the competition, that you can push more players playing that will keep you fresher in the second half of the games or the second half of the season. I think that has something to do with it too. I think it goes to our players' intelligence too. You know, the more plays they run, the more bank you continue to build upon. And I think, you know, in the off season, you know, obviously we do a great job with planning, the structure, the workouts. But the way the rules are now, you can meet with these guys throughout the season a lot with some football, and you can just build some fundamental knowledge that they can draw back upon. I think they just pick things up quicker now, and they can use that. And it doesn't mean you're calling maybe a necessarily different game all the time, but their ability to take the information that you're giving them, what the offense is giving them, and process that in real time to go react and make plays, I think that's what you're seeing. And a combination with maybe adjustments or whatever that is for the players, coaches, the program on both sides of the ball. So,
Jordan.
Coach mentioned it a little bit earlier, but when did you find out that Emery was going to be the starting quarterback, and how much did that affect the game plan?
well, I mean, I went out and watched warm-ups, and he was throwing the ball to the student manager that was catching the ball, and the other quarterbacks were playing catch with each other. That usually tells you that the starting quarterbacks get somebody else catching the ball for them. So that's when I kind of figured it out.
Kurt.
Jarian got to be, I guess, Jarian got to be the hero with the interception at the end of the game. I know he's a guy who's kind of like a few other guys, bounced around, had a few different roles, and kind of is one of those guys who's really, I guess, what do you think's been the biggest difference for him this year? It feels like he's played at a consistently high level, and I mean, he talked last year after the Florida game about how it feels like he's totally changed the perception of how people view him.
Yeah, I mean, I've always believed in him, and, you know, every time he'd start to get some momentum, there'd be an injury, you know, and then the setback and, you know, how that went. And I think, you know, just a few years ago, he really made up his mind that, listen, things are gonna happen that I can't control, but regardless of what it is, I'm gonna show up every day and try to be my very best. And that's what he's done a great job of. And, you know, just even what he's done this year, you know, I think he's got great corner skill. He's done what's best for the team. We moved him in a nickel, and he's grabbed that. He played some dime Saturday night too, because there was some 10 personnel. And, you know, just to see him go and take that ball away late in the game, but also to hold who I think is a pretty good slot receiver to no catches between him and Greedy. You know, it just, you know, he is so dialed in, not just on what he's doing, but what we're doing. And you just see his intensity on Thursday walkthroughs. If the scout guy doesn't give the right route, and he'll look at me and be like, did this change? I thought this is how it's gonna go. I said, JW, he ran it wrong. You know, and he'll look at him and say, you gotta run that correctly, and go and coach him. So think of that and where that's come from, right? And, you know, what he does on special teams, what he does on defense, it just shows proof. If you recruit the right people, regardless of success early or failure early, stick to it, stick to the plan, work hard at it, understand there's gonna be ups and downs, stay consistent, trust yourself, and go to work. And that's what he's done. And now he's one of the better DBs in the country.
I think at Saturday's game, Xavier Rhodes, Brian McFadden, some of those guys were out there on the sideline in previous games. I mean, there's Derek Brooks, obviously, and people like that. And then this Saturday, you got a 2013 team coming back. Did you realize, I guess, when you guys came here that, like, how big of a part of that was going to be part of being, in terms of, you know, I mean, obviously you knew Florida State's legacy, but just what it means that for these current players to have those guys coming back and those relationships?
Yeah, I mean, I knew just being a football, being a main part of my life, you know, obviously the first day I got here, you know, you walk in, you know about the history, you know about the names, and, you know, maybe my second day here is when I went out on the field and Coach Andrews called me and said, hey, I'd love to meet you. And obviously Odell was already here, Ron was already here. And then maybe my third day, I meet with a bunch of the players just in one-on-one meetings. I walk in the defensive staff room, and somebody grabbed me and said, hey, we have some guys that want to meet you, and it's Derek Brooks and Shade Tree. And so now I saw them and saw, you know, the linebacker room, and, you know, I said, wow, that's pretty cool. But it was just, you know, to see Derek on the sideline sometimes. Obviously, we coached to Kalen, so that happened a little bit. But talked to T-Buck, and just, I mean, to even go through the names, you know, I met Timmy Jernigan, you know, just, there's so many names out there now, and you feel, now that we've been here, you know, going on the 4th year, you feel very connected and invested, and you feel like you are a Seminole, and you feel the connectivity of these guys, and you know, obviously success brings all the excitement back, right? But I think it goes beyond that, and I think it's because of how Coach Bowden ran the program. You know, these guys were invested more than wins and losses. You know, they didn't check in and then check out and go on to the next endeavor. You know, they come back, or, you know, they support the team, and, you know, it's just, you know, it's not a secret. Recruiting is going to go really well around here because we're winning, but it's also going to go really well because of the people that have come through here in the past. People see what they are doing post-football and how they carry themselves, and I think the allure of what Florida State University is goes beyond the football field, and I think the biggest seller of that and product is the players that have come out of here.
We'll go to Brendan for one more.
A few other players who've been here since the beginning for you guys, Bernardo, Keem, Dennis. You talk about their growth individually and their progress as well during their time with you.
Man, you could spend a lot of time on each one, you know, and you know, just to see what Renardo's gone through. You know, when I got here, we were at a shortage at safety. We were a shortage at a couple spots, and to move him, and the injuries that he had to go through, and then, you know, to make the decision move back to corner last year, and just to see his toughness and grit show through, and, you know, he's always been an ultra competitor. Just unbelievable job. And you mentioned Akeem. I mean, Akeem's similar road. You know, was a safety when we got here. We moved him back to corner. He really had a tough year coming off of an injury. After a bunch of studies and informations and talking, we moved back to safety, and now he's playing really good football. And he's going to be a starting DB on a team that's won back-to-back 10+ seasons. We talked about J-Dub, Dennis Briggs, who again, I mean, you talk about the group that you just talked about, B, and there's been position changes, there's been injuries to all of those guys. There's been a lot of failure, and to see them now climbing towards the pinnacle of their game on a really good team, what I am probably the most excited about, yes, their success, but what that's going to do for them a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, when they can look upon this, and when things come up, they can stand up and know they've been through things before, and they've come out the other side with success. And so I think that's the narrative to that group, and they've been huge building blocks on what this looks like right now.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys.
Take it easy.